What's up, folks? Welcome back into the stream. It's Tuesday. As we do every week, we're getting tactical today. And today I want to talk to you about an event that I think kind of flew under my radar. I don't do a ton of coverage about team events typically on this channel, but this ended up being one of the biggest ones in the world. And we did catch it actually on Twitch when it went down, and I should have looked up who streamed it, but I know it did have some live stream coverage. I'll take a peek in a sec. And we'll see if we can find the live stream for that one. But it was the GT Talavera 2025, a 600 player team event. Fucking huge. Had over 100 teams participating, and that's what I want to discuss today. Talk about some of the team metagame that we are looking at right now. We also even have some high results from some World Championship players who are going to be playing this week in the World Championship that we just talked about yesterday. So that's pretty exciting and cool. But otherwise, welcome in, everyone. Thanks for coming and hanging out. We do have a sponsor for the stream. Captain Con, as you see on the screen, is sponsoring the streams on the lead up to their event. It's going down January 30th through February 2nd, the first weekend of February, and he's one of my favorite conventions of all time. So I highly recommend you go check them out. They are running a 40k GT and an AOS GT. Both of those are being organized by Away Games. So if you've seen Away Games events on the channel, you know that obviously they have a judge team. They bring nice, first of all, well-painted, but also very consistent terrain. They enforce a consistent set of rulings. So the event organization is going to be on point, but also there is going to be a bunch of other events going on. It's a holistic gaming convention. So you see events from Infinity, War Machine Hordes, fucking everything, Lord of the Rings, and yeah, it should be a good time. I'll probably be there in some capacity. I'm not 100% sure yet, but
briefly talk about WCW ruling that you can't double up on defensive starts in the same phase
did the ruling
for the
document
event.
drop?
Mad lads.
Thank you for the super chat, by the way, Ryan. I appreciate that. If the ruling document drops, then I would love to talk about that. As far as I know, I have not seen a copy of it, but if it's there, then that's going to be great because I would love to have that shit in writing rather than a grainy Discord screenshot from Justin Curtis. That would be great. Dan L. Amore, driving for work, listening from Australia. Hell yeah, dude. I hope you have a wonderful day at work. But yeah, we can talk about the document just after we ramp up our little sponsor segment here. Absolutely, 100%. I would love to talk about that. If you have a copy of it, hit me up. Unless it's on Warhammer Community, which you can take a look at. But yeah, Captain Con's great. Go check it out. Use coupon code TT2026 for 10% off. You get your 10% off your badge price. And yeah, you're gonna have a great time. It's gonna be super fun, and I'll probably see you there. I've been there like for every year for like 10 years, so I'm probably not gonna miss it. Yeah, otherwise, let's talk about some World Championships, maybe. World Championships perchance. I'm gonna take a peek on Warhammer Community, although I don't believe that they've dropped the ruling documents on Warhammer Community in the past. If I remember correctly, I think that they are just... Oh, look at that. Countdown. We got a countdown even. That's exciting. I think that they just post the stuff. Warhammer Quest, Darkwater, preview shit, YouTube stuff. French Board Game Studio, La Vaz de Harus are also going. Kill Team coverage via Squad Games. So they contract out for Kill Team coverage, but not 40k. Okay. Also, Twitch gets Warhammer exclusive, I guess. That's funny. Or 40k exclusive. Good stuff. I guess I'm just gonna Google it. And then maybe we'll find it. E6 rulings. Oh, 2025, not 2026. 2025. 2026 hasn't happened yet. Somebody posted 3 days ago. Lists are up. Yeah, we know that. World Championships of Warhammer balance updates. For AOS and Kill Team. Yeah, I don't know, chat. I don't have it. So I am in the dark. Anyway, let's dive into the main thrust of the show, which is I want to talk about team format stuff. So we'll talk about this event. Oh yeah, let's find the we rated them on stream because they were live streaming as I was wrapping up my own stream. Dang, I really need a new camera for this. I've ordered it, by the way. I ordered a bunch of new streaming equipment. So I'm gonna have a camera mount to go on my wall, so my camera doesn't bounce around while I'm in standing mode here. Because my desk is a little wiggly, and so my camera gets bounced, and it looks very bad, I imagine. So we're gonna hop off this and go talk about that. So many matches for so little streams. I know, literally everyone would love to stream it, but. And it's I guess like because they have extremely like I am what I imagine are ironclad contracts for the foreign language streamers that end up it was Paladine Sutera did the live stream for G2 Talavera. We found it. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Yeah, over the weekend. Hell yeah. So we got them. I'll drop a link in the video description for their Twitch channel. Let me grab. So here's their Twitch channel. You guys get to see my Twitch. Let's go. Here's a link. Boop. If you want to watch live coverage from this event, so one of the largest team events of the year. Just got. I don't know. They got. Some coverage, which is sweet. So that's cool. I haven't watched through all the games, obviously. Most of it's in Spanish, so I don't think I would understand what's going on. But if you want to take a peek, I want to give them a shout out because I think it's important. GW needs to be more lenient and accepting of their content creators to better grow and make more money. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm biased. I would love them to give me more leniency. Let me do more stuff. But what I was saying before is I imagine that the arithmetic is that if they contract with a smaller number of creators, they can enforce more control over them. Whereas if they say like, come on, come all, and it's like a sort of LVO sort of situation where you get like 4 or 5 or 6 live streams all going simultaneously, you can have less control over what's happening like actively at the time. I know like what they do for finals is that they put all the streams on one table, which is seems like a nightmare. They just strap everyone's cameras to the same overhead rig, which is fucking wild. And then they just simulcast all the game in all different languages. But yeah, I don't know. I understand like what they're going for. I think there's definitely the potential for some negative press to come from live streams. If you get a situation, like we've had countless times where someone gets caught on stream, do dice manipulation or some shit. And it's in World Championships and it's on Warhammer's official channel. That looks super bad for them. And I have a suspicion that part of the reason that we restrict the information sort of through line on their main live streams is because it makes it so that they have control over when that happens, right? So you can't tell what's going on in the game in their coverage because nobody has any idea, right? They don't tell you anything. What it's rating rolled for, how many attacks does that guy have? Who knows? Nobody has any idea. So if any of that information is wrong, it doesn't make it to the audience, right? So it's impossible to like cheat. Let me turn my phone off real quick in a way that will be picked up on stream on the GW live stream, which of course I'm not in favor of because I think that, clean play should always be enforced, but I don't know. It is what it is. From a corporate like brand protection standpoint, I think limiting the amount the amount of time that can happen is probably important. The other thing too is like you end up without getting like weird fights or like I don't know caricatures of humans on microphone or whatever. So like I get it. It just sucks. And obviously, I would love to go live stream World Champs. I'm sure Joe from War Games Live would love to. I'm sure TTL would love to. But go fuck ourselves, I guess. I don't know. They don't want to stream us talking trash about them. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're beating a dead horse, right? This horse has been cremated, and he's a pile of dust at this point, and we're still wailing away. GW coverage is bad. Wow, what a shocker. But anyway, I don't know. It is what it is. Imagine watching baseball where they never show you the field and the announcers only mention how the batter needs to hit the ball in order to win. Listen, Chad, they need to score more points so that they have a higher standing. Okay? If you get points, it's good. That's what I heard. That's what I've learned from GW streams. The while there's a dude in the corner. So a dude eating peanuts. I mean, that's basically like, don't most sports things do that? Where they do the audience cameras or whatever, the cutaway camera. I don't know. We might do watch party in the Discord when things get started. I'm reticent to do one live. I did that in the past and I've been burned for it. Otherwise I would probably do it where we like live stream on Twitch and then try to sort of analyze what's going on. But we'll probably do something in the Discord and just hang out. I'll probably make a channel for it today, and then so when things go live later this week, there'll be a spot for it, and we'll just have a spot in the community where we can all go hang out and talk about what's actually going on. I think it would be good, especially if we can do multiple streams together, which would be sweet. We should do an abridged voiceover. I think somebody was talking about doing that for LVO for LVO finals. I think it was it Path to Victory? I think it might have been. I think Commander Chacha was working on that. That gets a little weird because I don't think Games Workshop's going to litigate any of it because I don't think they give a shit. But there's weirdness in terms of copyright for that stuff. I used to do those back in the day and people got really mad at me. So I don't do that anymore. I would do game recaps for live stream games. Like I would basically take like a 3-hour game and I would do a little recap of it. We were like 6 years ago at the beginning of my channel and people got upset about that. So we don't do that anymore. But Games Workshop, I think this doesn't really care if you fucking commentate over their coverage. So it's probably fine. But I don't know if I would want to do. So anyway, Chant, I don't really want to talk about Games Workshop's WCW stream for very much.
Ryan G donated $5 through Super Chat. Chat isn't old enough to remember John Madden commentary. If the
John Madden
throws
commentary,
the ball in the end zone,
there's a lot of that in 40k. I mean, to some extent, 40k is funny, because there is some element of. I think there's the people who are very enfranchised in the game. So like myself and like I would imagine 90% of you in chat. That you can understand the game state from a fundamental level just by looking at it, right? Where this guy's moving in to attack and this guy's charging and what they're trying to accomplish. However, the skill gap in 40k, especially from like the more kind of like pedestrian level, right? Like the people who are just coming in because they like Warhammer and they subscribe to the Warhammer channel and now it's streaming. So they click on the stream and they're like, what's this? And you're like, oh, it's competitive 40k. 90% of the people in that chat are so far below that level that you do actually have to do the John Madden commentary. And I found like doing live streams myself, the most positive audience interaction I've gotten is when I really break things down to a very fundamental level. This guy is trying to consolidate to this objective because he'll add his OC to the objective. And if you do that and yours is higher than your opponent, then you hold it. Isn't that cool? And there are so many people who do actually need that information. 40k's got one of the wildest skill gaps I've ever seen in any game ever. And it's crazy. And it's like largely because it's so big. But like, you can go to like an RTT and play someone and you're like, all right, so how does charging work again? And you're like, brother, this is a tournament. That's crazy. I don't know. I don't think I could experience that in any other game. And that's a tournament level game. If you just go to the game store and play a random person, they'll be like, so I forgot how line of sight works. Can you help me? And you're like, okay, buddy, let's, I will teach you. I will teach you the ways. And I think it is legitimately useful information for people, especially on the official Games Workshop channel. So the commentary, like the players need to score more points so their tiebreakers are better, is actually in some cases pretty vital because people might not understand, exactly how that works. I wish you could get into the nitty gritty of it because I think that's more interesting for people. But the way that they provide coverage, I think even to the commentators, is such that they have no fucking idea what's happening at the time. So they're rolling an attack. Oh, cool, man. If you roll a hit and then you roll a wound. All right, sick. Still enjoy listening to 40k Pro mics. So yeah, this is interesting. So I went on a tangent. I got down a YouTube rabbit hole where I started getting into, this was really recent, like last week, or last month, I would say, last couple weeks. I started getting into professional poker coverage. And I was shocked because I was like, this is Warhammer 40k. It wants to be in some cases, and I think like the Games Workshop live stream is part of this. And there are some other live streams too that try to like sort of go really hard on the commentary and stuff. And they want to be like an esport where everything is exciting all the time. And you're constantly like pulling up the energy level. But just a fascinating thing about professional poker is that the content is entirely driven by the players. 100%, essentially. There is very little where the commentators are adding color to what's occurring. The commentators are breaking down the plays and the board state. They're being very analytical about it, but 100% of the like raw entertainment value of professional poker live coverage is the player interactions. Because sometimes it goes fucking insane. Sometimes the players are being very taciturn, and this happens in 40k where you just get quiet people, and then it's just up to the commentators to like, talk about exactly what's going on in the game for the whole time. And then there are times where the players are driving the experience, and the commentators are only there to discuss board state elements. And I think that's 100% what 40k needs to embrace. They have to embrace the fact that 40k coverage is player driven 100% of the time. And Games Workshop doesn't understand that quite yet. And sometimes you get players who are pills, which is funny. In my opinion, the players who are real assholes on stream, as long as their opponent doesn't isn't having a terrible time, right? There's sometimes where one player's like being an asshole and the other player like rolls over and it's like, well, this is awkward. But sometimes you get a player who's a real pill and then there's judge calls happening and it's like very spicy, right? That's good content. You might not like it as a showcase for the game, but it's good content. And then, on the other hand, you get players who are like super bombastic and they love yelling at each other and screaming wog and all this stuff. And that's also super fun. And of course, sometimes you're going to get games where the players aren't very talkative, but then it's up to the commentators to like sort of pull the covers together. But I was like, this is exactly what 40k needs to be. 100%. Like we shouldn't be looking at sports or esports for what coverage should look like. We should look at card games, which is my thing. Yeah. So anyway, that's my talk. Poker is stressfully quiet until it's chaos. Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. But a lot of times in poker, you'll get player banter, right? Especially, and it's the same with 40k, especially between the people who are more comfortable with it, right? The professional people who do this all the time. And it's to them, it's a day job, essentially, right? Oh, I'm going to go into a fucking, an event and we're playing for a pot of like $2 million, but I do this like every month. So, whatever. And those then start to get laid back and they start to get like, they just fucking talk shit all the time. It's so funny. At the lower level tables, and you get this in 40k too, where it's just like people who are like, I've never done this before, and they're very stressed. That's where things get funny. Like that's where things, either explode because somebody like breaks under the pressure, or they, the game's just quiet. But that's fine. You can talk about what's going on. But it's like when you get to especially World Championships, like World Championships is going to have some incredible personalities who like are playing with each other, and I think that would be fucking awesome to watch. But anyway, we shall quit 40k and go play Yu-Gi-Oh! Dude, it's time to duel. That's what I think. All right, champ. Let's talk about the GT. I want to talk about this GT. I think it's time. We've discussed Captain Khan. We've discussed WCW coverage. I'm sure we're going to talk about WCW coverage later. I'm sure we're going to talk about it a bunch of times. Maybe it's time to make a video complaining about it, and then we can put it to rest. I want to talk about this event. Now, BCP is doing this weird thing where sometimes it doesn't recognize an event as a team event, but it looks like it's not working like that today. Look at this roster, chat. There are 102 registered teams. Now, this is an interesting event. It's WTC Light, essentially. So they are teams of 6 rather than teams of 8. So it's not going to be quite the same as the full 8-player team format, but you get a lot of the same dynamics because you have an even number of players. So it doesn't as much come down to win-loss, which teams of 5 tends to do. Teams of 5 is you basically you play some more well-rounded 40k because you have less control over pairings, right? So teams of 5 tends to be kind of like 2 teams of 5 people, and you just play 5 regular games of 40k. Teams of 8, you tend to have lists that are like particularly designed for specific maps and specific matchups and stuff like that because you have more control, you have more pairing options in order to select pairings. In this case, it's like a happy medium between the two. Things are still going to be fairly randomly generated, essentially, because you don't have a ton of control over. There's basically one full less pairing cycle that you have to do inside the team pairing process. However, you still have enough control where you can have some particular answers for certain list archetypes. It was won by Team Atresmas. We also saw Team Conclave and Ibeleostia. I'm going to go with that. Both went 5-0-1, but we had one final undefeated, and there were some crazy results, by the way. We saw this huge push for Emperor's Children. Yeah, let's grab the roster. So a lot of the top factions ended up with Emperor's Children. The top placing armies ended up with Emperor's Children. There's Emperor's Children on the cover for a reason, which I think is fascinating. Obviously, there's going to be some scoring heavy matchups where Emperor's Children can prey on them, and I think that's certainly helpful. They're also just generally they're a solid well-rounder as long as you can dodge knights and other heavily armored matchups. And in the format where you have a little bit of pairing control and you can just ensure that you're never or very rarely going to hit something like Knights or a Crusher Stampede or something like that, Emperor's Children actually seems like they're going to do phenomenal. So I'm going to go to triple barb hybrid duelist too. Oh boy, I have bad news. So we'll talk about that. I believe the winning list just had a coterie of the conceded. But you did have a Fulgrim doing fairly well as well. Jose Draxt with Double Wing Demon Prince, 1 Pledge of Unholy Fortune. So we get the auto 6s. Lord Exalted ×3, Lucius the Eternal, and Frackers ×3, Tormentors ×2, Rhino ×2, Noise Marines ×3. We kind of know what to expect going in for Emperor's Children, which is a little bit sad. I do sort of wish that Emperor's Children had more build variety and it wasn't just this one list as soon as you register for them. It is a single list, but it is what it is. That's fine. We did see some Chaos Space Marines do fairly well. This is Renegade Raiders. I wonder if we have, I guess we can't take Noise Marines. Oh, we could. Is that allowed? Do they have a Pale Player Pack? Wait a minute. You had Emperor's Children on your roster. You gotta take Noise Marines in your Chaos Space Raid army. Maybe they had Maybe they had a... I don't know where I would find the player packet for this because there's no packet linked in the BCP. Oh, did we find it? I think we found it. It's a really big document though. So the reason that that's funny is that if you use WTC rules, the WTC rules state that if a faction is used in, I don't think I'm gonna understand any of this, chat. Unfortunately, I am not a Spanish speaker. Although I probably should be, to be honest, living in the US these days. It would actually be great. This area I used to live in was like 50% Brazilians. I should have learned Portuguese. I started a class, but I never finished it. But the reason that that's funny is that so WTC rules state that if you ever use a faction in one army, you cannot use it in any other. So you can't, for example, take Imperial agents in multiple factions. You can't take demons alongside allied chaos demons. The difference is that if you use like the allied detachments inside a codex, you aren't using the demon faction. So for example, you play Taliban summoners in Death Guard, you aren't using the demon faction, you're using the Death Guard faction with the Plague Legion units that are in their codex. So that's fine. But you can't, for example, because Chaos Space Marines take directly from the other codex, I guess it changes their faction keywords, so maybe that's the reason that you can do it. I guess I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sure somebody can maybe somebody in the chat can verify, because I'm not 100% up to date on all the WTC rulings. But because it changes their faction from Emperor's Children to Chaos Space Marines, maybe you're fine. But you do take the datasheet from the Emperor's Children Codex. I seem to remember that being a contentious thing when Noise Marines, or excuse me, Rubric Marines were being used in Renegade Raiders. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's a weird thing. All right. Well, I mean, I assume these guys won. Nobody called them on it, so I assume we're good. Interesting. But we do have the Noise Marines and the Renegade Raiders. The other cool thing that Renegade Raiders do is that it's relatively long threat range. It's good at killing like sort of medium stuff, right? You have Chaos Space Marines are just the strength 5 the faction essentially. So you have good ways to deal with sort of high unit count enemies. And then the other benefit that they have is that they have a lot of weird scoring disruption. So they have their stratagem, for example, to at the end of the fight phase fall back from people with mounted units. So you can do things like engage a Lord Discordant or get engaged on a Lord Discordant and then pull it back to steal objectives. And there's a lot of weird things you can do with that, which can equalize score in an even weird matchups, which makes Renegade Raiders fairly good. It's legal piracy. Yeah. The Red Corsairs are out here just fucking raiding sailing ships for all their Noise Marines. Give me that shit. 2 units of Chaos Bikers. 3 Predator Destructors. Big for the +1 AP you get. Targeting people on objectives. Obviously, they're only AP1 base. AP2 if you shoot infantry. AP3 if you shoot infantry on objectives. When the stars align and Mercury's in retrograde on a Tuesday at 6 p.m., the Predator Destructor goes to AP3, which is sweet. Big chosen unit for Fabius Bile to hang out with. And then the allies. So we have taken the Demons faction. I know that's for sure. We did play some Space Marines. I think it's just Shadowmark Talon. Yeah. Boring. Play a Storm Raven Gun Chip next time. We all know what Shadowmark Talon does. Adeptus Mechanicus, another great team format game. Team format army. I think that there are armies that do... I'm interested now that Adeptus Mechanicus is kind of like a meta... The Predators had las cannon sponsons. They were autocannon turret las cannon sponsons. Which is good for because you oftentimes will just pray for sustained hits every time with that guy. With Dark Pact, and the last cannon sponsons getting sustained hits like is hugely, just doubles their damage output, which is huge. Plus you have a high volume attack, so on the turret, and you're oftentimes shooting at infantry, so getting sustained hits for more hits on those guys is always good. So the interesting thing about Adeptus Mechanicus is that I do think that there are matchups that are going to give them trouble. It depends on how quickly you kill the Sicarian bodies. Because, like, look at this. I think that the factions realized, and Skitarii Hunter Cohort knew this from before, but Skitarii Hunter Cohort never did damage before. It basically nickel and dimed you until it could kill some things, and then the rest of the army was like just scoring all the time and restricting people's movement. Look at this shit, though. We're up to, if we include the Taraxi in the count, we're up to 50 Sicarian infantry and each of those is effectively, it's basically it's a slightly more resilient tactical marine body. So you're talking about like 50 like assault intercessors running at you, essentially, right? Their save characteristic is worse, but a 4+ save gets the benefit of cover. So in some cases they're saving on 3s anyway, and they have a 5+ invuln, so big AP stuff doesn't kill them as easily, right? So it's like a side grade. However, the difference is that they're way faster, so you're almost always going to get value out of them before they get to the relevant position on the table. I think that there's, if this army were to be answered, it would be from an army that can sweep these guys really easily, right? Like trivially almost. And I'm curious what that is so far. And the other interesting thing is that there's not a lot of, you basically need like mass AP 1/2 damage melee is essentially like, I think what you're going for, right? Like fast melee that's AP 1/2 damage is what you need. So like Space Marine Outriders, like Suboden Khan's Outriders is going to fucking destroy this unit. But that's not a super useful profile anywhere else in the game. And so these guys just get to run around for free and be really, really obnoxious to kill. Because very rarely do you shoot the entire unit to death, right? Your one activation is going to kill 5 or so. If you don't have another similar activation, you're going to kill a couple and there's 1 or 2 left. And then those 1 or 2 get to go, construct value. So you basically need, with shooting, you need to be able to one-tap the entire unit, which almost nothing in the game does, very reliably without wildly overcommitting. Like, you could do it if you dump, the entire Centurion Devastator squad into them or something, but, like, doing that is putting a 400-point unit almost into a 150-point unit and hoping that you get value, which feels super bad. So, this is an interesting stat check because it doesn't seem that difficult to break. It doesn't seem that difficult to defeat, but very little in the game can reliably do it. And for each turn you do not kill those models, these guys shoot you again. And these things do so much fucking damage that it's disgusting. Plus we have the Cataphront Destroyers, so we get Sanctified Ordnance in there too. So it's like another situation where if you can dodge the matchups that can easily kill these things, you just jail your opponent into oblivion. They just can't move anywhere, and they never do anything, and then you win. Which is pretty exciting. Ryan G, thank you for the super chat again, buddy.
$5
Appreciate
through
you.
super chat. 10 West Talkers at 10 points less than a Crusader squad, but with a 5+ invuln and power sword.
Less than a Crusader squad, but with a 5+ invuln and a power sword. I guess that's a pretty apt comparison. Their base, like, weapon skill, ballistic skill are lower, right? But they're faster. And their weapons are, like, slightly better. Yeah. Especially with Advance and Charge. TO say they can because Noise Marines get the Heretic Astartes faction keyword. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, I remember that was a very... I think I even remember ruling on this for an event. But I was... I think we were using the WCC for like pairing rules. I can't remember. That was a year ago. Yeah, I couldn't remember what the exact ruling on it was, but that's good to know because they're Chaos Space Marine Noise Marines. Even though they're from the Emperor's Children Codex, you don't take the Codex. You take the faction keyword, and you can't duplicate faction keywords. I guess is what the deal is. Yeah. Sweet. Custodes kill them. Yeah, the problem is Custodes aren't very fast, so they don't kill them. Well, first of all, they don't kill them efficiently because you're dumping like a huge, expensive unit of idiots to kill 150 points of Ruststalkers. Right. If you're like, I don't think 3 guys will do it because you basically need, especially if they're in Protector Imperative, and they are -1 to be hit. Then you're hitting on 3s, you're sustaining, so you're probably at like out of 15 attacks, you're like 12 hits. Like even if you're a guardian, you wound them like 11 times, and then they make a third of those, and because of their invuln save, and they just live. Like 4-ish guys live, which sucks. It's almost half the unit is what you just killed. So you commit 5. And then 5 dudes is like, 100 points more and slower. So not only do you have to do that before they hit you, but also you have to do it. You have to do it like through walls and stuff, which is tough. You need a really fast mover to be able to do that. It's like a very tough problem to solve. Like on I guess the other thing too is that like on reasonable terrain where these guys have staging areas, like it's extremely difficult to stop them. From just blocking you, from just moving up and stopping you from moving, which is very annoying. So like you can do it in melee, and most armies will kill them once they commit. But the problem is killing them before they commit. So they don't do walls of movement blockers, and that's the real issue. Is my experience. And so it's a team format. They do have some success in singles events, obviously, but a team format where you can dodge the very specific areas where that happens, or you can select terrain that's beneficial for you. This feels absolutely horrible. Plus there's Dune Riders anyway, so you can hide them. You can hide them in Dune Riders. The fact that you fit in Dune Riders is wild, by the way. I kind of am like, I'm coming around to the point that I sort of feel like all the 40 mil based infantry. I know they're not going to do this because they're gonna like shrinkflate the game until everyone's on a 40 mil, because then I don't know, they can charge more for a kit or whatever. But it's both mechanically and conceptually weird to me that a unit of 10 guys on 40 mils can fit into a little transport. Anytime 12 40 mils pile out of a rhino, I want to pull my fucking hair out. It's like, how did you get in there? Stuff on 40 mils should have take 2 transport capacity, and they should be statted like appropriately. I think that the game hands out 40 mil bases like candy right now. Even though the units in question are not like necessarily deserving of it, you know what I mean? Like if you have a big thing that takes up a lot of board space at the table and it's high impact, it should have stats that reflect that, versus being a regular, like a Rust Stalker is just a regular, he's just like a Space Marine. But a Space Marine's on a 32 and he's on a 40, even though their stats are identical, essentially, right? And I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Conceptually, I don't like it. It makes me sad. Flawless Blades to fit in rounds. But Flawless Blades are like I think Flawless Blades are a good example. Because Flawless Blades are like, they're like high statted. They get the invuln save, you get the wound. They like hit really hard. You're like, all right, that's a big dude on a 40. I understand it. And also they don't go into rhinos. Fair enough. But a Noise Marine? Why the fuck is a Noise Marine on a 40? He's just a Space Marine with +1 toughness. Like it's I don't know. It's so weird. But when you compare them to like Gravis or Terminators, which are like the classic 40 mil based heavy infantry, where they have high toughness characteristics, a bunch of wounds, big heavy weapons, they have eradicators and shit. You're packing multi-meltas on those guys. I get it. That unit needs to be physically large to both represent and curb its power, right? Because especially things like eradicators or aggressors, you start to run into these problems where the unit itself starts to get in its own way because they're so big. But once you start talking about units of like 10 plus guys who are all on 40s and all have like little melee weapons, like the unit's too big for its own good. It's not going to be able to actually make all of its attacks. And then like the weirdness with disembarking them from transports is sort of throws me. I don't know. Just axe transports. Then I wouldn't have any problems. Just get rid of transports in 40k, and then I think the game's better. Easy. It just needs to be consistent. Yeah, I agree with that. But I think I know that there's a huge push on GW's part to make the models physically larger. And so the bases are going to keep getting bigger. We're going to have 12th edition. We're going to have Terminators on 50s and characters on 60s, and we're going to have some regular Marines on 40s, and it's going to be a nightmare. We're already basically there. We have like Vanguard veterans or Blade Guard veterans and company heroes on 40s, and they're just one Space Marine. I don't know, Chance. I think big bases it's a cool canvas for things, but in some cases they are problematic. 6 Tyranid Warriors. Yeah, Tyranid Warriors are a great example. Tyranid Warriors, like, it's It's larger than a Terminator with worse stats, like worse melee. And they have to be aggressive and they have to engage with the entire unit to be useful. Like, they don't have a gun unless you play the range ones, which are a utility unit. Like, what the fuck is it doing on a 50 mil? It's wild. Let's talk about Tau. Pachuca Sopla Chunuka is playing Tau. Monka with a Strike Swiftly Fireblade. It's been a long time. Oh, Strike Swiftly Fireblade. It's been quite a year since we've seen you, buddy. The weird part about this guy is that he gives out Scout, but he gives it at the start of the game, or in deployment, which means he has to be deployed on the table. So you can't put him in a Devilfish. We do have a Devilfish, which I think gets a Pathfinder squad, probably. It must. I mean, it has to, because otherwise the enhancement doesn't do anything. So we get a Pathfinder unit in the Devilfish, and then we get to scout the Devilfish for free. And then, I imagine, the Pathfinder squad disembarks, and you run the Breacher team in, and then you go from there. But the weird part is, you don't get the, like, classic Monka Alpha, where you strike swiftly the Devilfish, scout the Devilfish, run the Devilfish, auto 6-hit, disembark, then shoot. You can't do that because if the Contra Fireblade's on the table and it embarks, then he can't. He cannot then, advance and disembark in the same turn. He gets screwed. So it's interesting because it restricts. I mean, maybe in some cases you just put him in the transport anyway, but then you're not scouting the transport at all. So I don't know. It restricts your tactical flexibility in top of turn 1. But the difference is that you don't have to aggressively deploy him because it only works within 6 inches, which is a problem if you have the ethereal, where in some cases you want to put the ethereal out in weird spots in order to push the scouting stuff that you want to scout with. And then he just dies and you're like sad because you lost your CP gen. That Fire Strike team that we talked about earlier it feels like the way we want to do it, but I love triple Pyrovore. The number of times I complain about fucking mass Pyrovores kills me. Why are they so big? It's an infantry model. It's on a 60, but or an 80, right? It's on an 80, but they're so large that they can't shoot their gun. It's only range 12. So if you take 3 of them, they're too big to sit next to each other on, or is that true? I guess they can sit 2 by 2 if there's no restrictions off of, what's 80 mil to, it's 80 mils, it's under 3 inches, right? Is that right? No, I think I'm wrong. I think 80 mils over 3 inches. It is. It's 3 and 0.15. So, it's almost pi. So it's too big to put 2 of them next to each other if you strat reserve, which means you have to stack them. And then that means that the guy in the back, if you take 3, can't shoot his gun. He physically can't do it. In some cases, the second guy in the row also can't do it if you're screened out. So if you're screened out and you have a tight angle at which to come in, you have to come in staggered. And if this distance between the guy in the back and the guy in the front and the guy in second place is 3 inches or more, he can't shoot. He can't shoot his fucking gun because it's only range 12 and he has an over 3-inch base. That's nuts. Whoever designed that datasheet needs to be fired. It's so stupid. They're the dumbest unit. I hate them. And if you don't have a Hive Tyrant, you oftentimes can't clear walls because you're move 5 on a base that's almost 5 inches. I hate them. God damn it. You got me talking about Tyranids again. All right, we're done. The tactical tangent's over. We're talking about Tau. Oh my god, chat. Incredible. What a shit show. Assimilation Swarm designed around Pyrovores. The reason Assimilation Swarm is so fucking dog shit is because Pyrovores are too strong, chat. If Assimilation Swarm was good, a Pyrovores would be too broken. It'd be too much. Illuminous Heroes, Scorpion Lords, and Obliterators. But those are not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about large infantry that are statted like regular infantry, you know, like medium infantry on big bases. Scorpic Lords are like a big fucking 7 wound dude. Illuminor Seraz, he's basically just a Catan shard. And an Obliterator's like a 4 wound, like super heavy infantry Centurion equivalent. Like I don't think those aren't that's not the kind of thing I'm talking about. All right. Talking over this Monka list. So even if the strike swiftly Fireblades, he has to start on the table. I might just start from the top here, so when I timestamp it, it makes sense. The 3 Barbers the same size as Inky. Oh my god, and she's so big. We have the Ethereal, no enhancements, Breacher team for the Fireblade, plus Devilfish. There's Ghost Kill Battlesuit, triple Hammerhead gunships, all ion cannons, so we get lethal hits. Kroot Carnivores, Pathfinder team, Piranha. Riptide. Stealth Battlesuits. I don't know. This is like a normal tell list. This is regular stuff. I've lost my train of thought. What a cool towel list. All right. We have the Conjure Fireblade and the Breachers. It's nice to see. To be honest, it's been a while, Breacher team. I don't know where you went, but it's nice to see you back. I think people just realized that you were a little expensive, even though you do a trillion damage. You do a trillion damage to like most like regular infantry units, and you don't necessarily need those to kill people. But it's interesting that I guess like we can push Pathfinders early. Like you can Alpha Strike with 2 units of Pathfinders, basically. One of them can like advance in the Devilfish, disembark. And the other one can infiltrate, scout up, and then you can like wall your opponent. But not doing that with the Breacher team feels like you're limiting your tactical options. I don't know. But I guess they're better for round 2 is when you're shooting up with them. They also have a little bit of anti-synergy with the detachment ability because they have wound rerolls, so their attacks are very valuable, but they gain lethal hits. You almost want them with sustain from Kalyan. The Knight meta sucked? I guess that's maybe the case. Although Breachers, like, they still did damage. Because Knights were T11, Breachers were 5s rerolling, so you usually handed your opponent like 17, 18 saves. I'm not going to say it was good, but it certainly wasn't like they were just useless. Shadowblade is this player's name. I want to meet the parents of the parents who named their player Shadowblade. Although I will talk about this, I think, for a moment. So one thing that happens oftentimes for whatever reason, it's in the sort of Talavera, like the Spanish speaking meta, it's just way more common than we have it in the US. But a lot of players will use pseudonyms in place of their real name on BCP for their BCP profile. And I'm actually kind of in favor of this. And the reason for that is that I think it takes the gloves off when dealing with misplays, right? So when we're talking about someone who has like their name and ID essentially on like associated with an account, you know, my name is Joe Schmo, and here's my BCP account, and that's my real name, and here's my real email. And then they sign up to an event, and then they play extra Hellbrutes. Suddenly, anytime you take that person to task, right? They have like a legal, and I'm not talking about legality in terms of the game, like actual, legal grounds to call defamation against you. Not that they would win. I think generally speaking, they probably wouldn't, because a lot of times it's like sort of information in the public, public information that's just being repeated. But what they can slap you, right? And this happened to me several times, where people have threatened me with lawsuits if I discuss their real name. If there's ever a situation where I'm talking about a player in content, especially in conjunction with their with sort of poor conduct or misplays, and I'm being like weirdly taciturn about their name, a lot of times it's because they've threatened me. So if you don't give your real name, that doesn't happen. And then we can just fucking throw you directly under the bus. So if you don't write down Joe Schmo and you write Shadowblade 40k and you cheat really bad on live stream or something, people could be like, all right, fuck this dude. Let's ban him. But they're not necessarily like impacting their real life. And this is something obviously that happens in like video games all the time, but the comparison is always a little bit fishy because of the fact that 40k is like an IRL experience and is what's the word? 40k is an IRL experience and it could have like potential repercussions on somebody's real actual life. Whereas if you're playing a video game, you play with a screen name, and people can call out each other's screen names all the time, and that's whatever. Oh, I don't like I don't know shiny unicorn 6969, so fuck that guy. And we don't have that in 40k, right? There's no like barrier between gameplay and your identity. And so I kind of like sort of wish that this was the case. More people did this. The other thing too is that like if we were to construct a centralized system where you could call out people for cheating, and I'm using Shadowblade 40k as an example here. I just want to make clear. There's no this is an interesting topic. I think is funny, is cool to talk about, but there's no like this isn't somebody who has misplayed or anything. This is just somebody who's posted, what is probably like his YouTube channel name as his as his PCP account name. So we're using this as the example, but obviously he is an upstanding citizen, to my knowledge, and I don't know any weird stuff. I don't believe that there's there's nothing going on here. There's not drama or anything. But I think it would be beneficial to fair play. I do think that there's maybe to some extent there's some level of personal culpability you have to accept. If you were cheating in 40k, people call you out. If I register as Joe Schmo, then the people who are friends with Joe Schmo in real life maybe deserve to know that I spend on my weekends like cheating at 40k GTs, which is a very scummy thing to do. But to be fair, I think I'm less invested in that than I am the game being enforced correctly. And I think if we refrained from using real names in general, and I don't think this is ever going to happen, to be fair, but if we refrained from using real names in general, and we only use like some sort of pseudonym system, I think like you immediately like you establish that barrier, and suddenly you can do whatever the fuck you want in the arena of fake names. The other thing you could do is if we had something like Best Experience, or if we had a system that could verify an account, you could like submit like government identification or something to like verify your account or something like that, to ensure that you get tied with a real person. That could be a requirement to submit to gain scores on ITC or whatever ranking systems. And then if that account gets flagged, you could lose it and then not be able to submit scores because you could not then resubmit an official ID. So there's like you could do all of that stuff to prevent people from resubscribing in the back end. That would be, I think, in my opinion, the best case scenario, because then we could really just take all these people to task. But I don't know. We can't do that right now, so it is what it is. Anyway, that was the whole thing. Call me chef. Okie dokie. Will do, chef. But anyway, he was playing Shadowblade 40k. Was playing Aspect Host. I think it's sort of normal stuff. Like it's all this Aspect Host stuff. All right, I don't know. That's boring. We got some boring lists in here, but that's okay. Let's talk about the second place placers, because I think we had some more interesting stuff going on. Conclave. Let's talk about them. This is where the real spice occurs. We have Tyranids, we have Tau, we have Emperor's Children coming back. Taroxer is here running 1,000 Suns, which is exciting. And we have Gonzalo de la Moneda, who... Chance, you ready? We talked about this list before. I'll give you a little heads up. We have already discussed this one. It should not be a surprise to you. Boom. It's a Fulgrim jump scare. Whoa. Peerless Bladesman. So Gonzalo is actually coming to WCW, and he is taking this list, which is fucking wild, because it's Peerless Bladesman, not Coterie of the Conceited. So you get the sustained hits or lethal hits on the charge. Most of your stuff has one or the other, and so you get to pick whatever them when they don't have. So Lord Exaltants with Infractor Squads get lethal hits on the charge, or they get lethal hits all the time. Fulgrim has sustained hits on most of his attacks. So he just grants those whatever one you don't have. So sustained hits for the Exaltants, which is huge for their spear attack. If you get lethal sustains on the spears, you actually convert those, they go crazy because they wound everything on 4s rerolling just about. So the Lord Exaltants are pretty gnarly in that way, and then obviously Fulgrim with lethal hits as well on his big swords is great. We've got 1, 2, 3 Infractor Squads for the Lord Exaltants, Double Chaos Rhino, Flawless Blades times 6, a big punchy unit. These guys get sustained hits on the charge potentially, and then they go insane. Noise Marines times 2 and some utility. So yeah, we have talked about this list already, which I think is awesome. But I think the coolest part about it is that it actually subverts a lot of its own worst matchups. So if you compare it to Coterie, you're like, what's bad with Coterie? So I don't want to play against high armor stuff that can stall me out. So I don't want to play against like armies that will just present a bunch of fucking Land Raiders or some shit, or Knights or something that I can't easily kill and farm Coterie points off of. Peerless Bladesman is like, I don't give a shit. I'm going to charge you, I'm going to kill you. I don't know. So in that case, you can hold the Lord Exaltants, you can hold Fulgrim. You have no obligation to commit your army into the fight unless your opponent gives you something to kill, right? So you can just play a regular game of 40k rather than playing the weird Coterie minigame. And then also into those heavily armored matchups, like Knights and stuff, Fulgrim will probably just kill one of those, right? He'll start in Deep Strike, kill Rampant Ingress, and then he'll just run in and blow something up. And he'll probably kill him on the swing back, but he's already got value at that point. And then you just follow up with triple Lord Exaltant who have hit like trucks. We have the Distortion Lord. One of them is Blinding Speed, so he fights first. Fulgrim can give himself fights first, so we can get 2 sets of fights first. So if you're playing into a melee matchup, it's just a fucking nightmare. Like, it's a multiple of it, plus fucking Lucius has fights first as well. So multiple of these units, you have to constantly worry about being able to counterattack you. So it makes melee matchups in the pairing process really weird. It makes your and matchup selection for Emperor's Children much easier because you have better matchups into a wider variety, even though your good matchups are not quite as good as they are in Coterie. And then obviously this guy hits like a truck because he has a 3 and 2 damage weapon because of Distortion, which gives all of his weapons +1 damage. So he has it increases his attacks characteristic as well. So he goes to when he uses his Finest Hour, he goes to 9 3 damage attacks and 4 2 damage attacks. I played this guy when I first started playing Emperor's Children, and I was like, holy shit. At one point he killed a Land Raider. It's just like, whoop. See ya. Like, goodbye. I think there's a +1 strat, +1 AP strat, and I think I used that. My opponent AOC'd and he killed it through AOC. I was like, he's actually probably average. He's 9 swings, lethal sustain. You probably average you get 1.5 automatic wounds and probably hit 100% of your attacks, and then you probably hand your opponent 6 more saves. So you're handing your opponent somewhere around 7 to 8 AP 4 3 damage saves. That's fucking nuts. That's crazy. If the stars align, you get all the strats off. So this list fucking is cool as hell, and I love it. I think it makes a lot of sense in a team format in order to, especially a team format like 6 players, where you don't necessarily have the matchup massaging that you get in the 8-player formats, where you can put Coterie into the matchups where it really preys on. Obviously, the top end of damage output you get in Coterie does not exist. You don't get that late game just fucking sweep your opponent because all your shit hits twice as hard. But you are more consistent over the whole game, which is cool. Well as respects players who, despite a certain unit being widely considered not worth it, say one way or another going to make it work. Yeah, 100%, dude. Especially, so it goes to show you too, and I kind of want to make a video on this. This is almost certainly going to be a video topic I make at some point. But one of the there are some people who have the mental capacity through whatever reason. You know, they're good at tabletop games. They're just really smart. They're like good at multitasking, or they play 4 games a day, where they can pick up most armies and then be successful with them, right? And you see those people, like I would say more often than not, those are the people at the upper echelon who you always see at the top of GTs, because they're playing whatever's good, and their fundamentals are so strong that they're able to play them regardless. Most people, myself included, I would say that I really don't have the capacity to do that. I play one faction at a time and I drill it into the dirt and then I move on. I play it until I'm bored and then I go to the next one. So I'm definitely not like a faction hopper. I would burn out really quickly, I think. Most people I think are like me, where what you should do is you should find a faction that you like and just beat the shit out of it. And if you have an archetype that you find fun and engaging, even if it's not meta and you play it more and more and you enjoy it, you're going to be so much more successful at that archetype than you are with literally any other list. So if you're like, man, I really love fucking Anvil Siege Force, and all I do is grind Anvil Siege Force games at a competitive level, eventually you're going to get to the point that you are better than 90% of the game. Because first of all, you're playing a non-meta list that people aren't prepared for. Second of all, you know your list better than your opponent knows theirs. Because if they're swapping factions or swapping detachments, they're new to all of their mechanics, and they might not necessarily have the matchup knowledge that you do playing into all this stuff. Yeah, so I think that's like, if you want like the short track to be successful, that's basically it. Take an archetype you think is cool and then play it into the dirt. And this is, I think, a great example of that. There's a bunch of benefits to playing this weird Emperor's Children list, but it's also like, who has reps against Fulgrim? Like, nobody knows what this list does. Which is sick. I don't know. It's really cool. So I stop playing with Tyranids because I don't want to play with trash? Yeah. Yeah, I play one faction into the dirt as long as the faction's good. I play a faction as long as I enjoy it, and playing with garbage that loses all the time is not enjoyable. I always like the Tyranid players who come in and they're like, but I win with Tyranids all the time. I don't understand. You poor sweet summer child. You never beheld true power. Imagine holding the power of God in your hand and then losing it. You can never go back. You can never have that again. It's gone forever. Let's talk about Tyranids for a sec. Do I think they'll be ditching demons in 9th and 11th edition? No, I don't think so. I think that more rumor is overblown. I think that the way that demons are utilized in the game will likely change. I think it's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if demons ended up being largely a component of other factions in the way that like Deathwatch are now. Where Deathwatch went from basically being a holistic army, like a non-compliant Space Marine chapter, to being like one army that you play inside the Space Marine Codex and sometimes in Imperial Agents. I think demons basically will move that way from being a full faction. Or I think it's likely that will happen if they decide to change them entirely. I think that the way that they've implemented demons right now is really good. I don't love that you can only ally demons into cult factions in specific detachments, but I think that their utility in the other Chaos Codexes is really good. And then I think the faction itself is like incredible. I mean, it's my favorite faction in the game, so I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if the way that demons get presented changes in 11th edition, but I think it would be weird and silly to like just delete them entirely. I think, there's too many 40k focused demon players, and there's too many factions that either have relied on demons, thematically use demons, or like demons they're a core part of the lore. You're not just going to kill the whole army. But what might be happening is that they get incorporated into other factions where it's like Bellacore becomes a Chaos Space Marine unit. Like all the Nurgle demons go into Death Guard and all the Khorne demons go into World Eaters or something like that. All right, let's talk about the Chad 9th edition Screamer Killer. Every once in a while when I'm feeling sad, I go back to watch my old Screamer Killer games. And it wasn't even meta, which is the best part too. You'd rock with 5 Screamer Killers and your opponent would be like, what is that? What's going on right now? And you're like, yeah, just watch. And then one Screamer Killer just fucking windmills the whole army. I go back and watch some of my old 9th edition games and I'm like, back when 40k was good. This little fucking guy, this little idiot on a 60 mil, just glumping around. Oh boy, here I go killing again. Here's my 12 attacks. Whoop! I picked up a Lehman Russ. Incredible. What a time to be alive. Oh, what we've lost. Marco Esteban is playing new Tyranids that score really good and don't kill anything. We got an invasion fleet with a Hive Tyrant, 3 units of Gargoyles, Pyrovore, triple Exocrine, Haruspexes. Fascinating. An invasion fleet. It makes sense. The downside of Haruspex is delivery, because they're move 8, can't go through walls, no advance in charge. They just wander around the table. And they do get a 5+ feel no pain potentially from invasion fleet, but that's not necessarily enough to like save them in most cases. So there is a little bit of an issue with sort of getting them into the fight. 1 Maliceptor plus double terrain effects. They oftentimes get shot to death and then they just die. And you're like, that was sad. The terrain effects are great though. Rupture cannons on them. Triple Haruspex. I wonder if that is... I wonder if that's like a concession to the terrain. It is WTC terrain. I'm looking at the stream real quick, chat. Like if we look at the stream, it's WTC terrain, so it's very constrained. It's fascinating. You would expect to see something like a Vanguard Invasion for heavy terrain tables, or Vanguard Onslaught for heavy terrain, because you can stage everywhere. Or you might expect to see, is this output quality? Oh, 720p. Oof. This is unfortunately fairly grainian, but it is what it is. Not much we can do about that. A lot of times that's throttled by the that whatever that thing is called by the internet from the venue. So like maneuvering Haruspexes around these terrain features is very difficult. You could play on a light table that has much more open like areas of ingress, but you just get shot to death, right? I guess maybe the goal is to play on light because the rest of the army just shoots you. You're like, hey, here's 3 Haruspexes. I'm going to put them on the objectives. You want to shoot them? Your opponent's like, I guess so. And you're like, all right, cool. You're not shooting my Exocrines. They'll shoot you again. Which I imagine is probably part of the arithmetic there. They're just sacrificial lambs. Please waste your time killing these pieces of garbage. That if you put anything on the objective, they will kill the shit out of it. Because they have 18 attacks with lethal or sustained, depending on their target. But then, like, you don't shoot the Exocrines or the Tyrannifexes and they just blast you again. I bet that's what's going on. The Haruspex feels like a nutty stat line and damage profile for 125. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I had the same sort of, like, revelation when I was first playing. Like, when the index came down. And it was like, whoa, brother, this data sheet's incredible. Why does it have fucking, like, so many attacks and a big attack and then a precision range weapon? That's crazy. And then you move them and you're like, all right, I'll move 2 inches to the side of this building and then 4 inches up and then I'll rotate to fit through here. Okay, your go. And then they just get fucking shot by a railgun again and die. Which I think is, I mean, it's why they're so good in subterranean assault, although they don't see that much play anymore. Now that people are moving towards like Norns and stuff. It's a weird spot to be in. I think Tyranids also start to get into the kind of the Space Marine problem, where a lot of their data sheets have to be really pushed to be playable because they're in such a highly competitive slot, right? Where it's like, what's going to be good? Is it a Carnifex Is it a Norn? Is it Haruspex? Or is it like one of the weird bugs, like a Maliceptor? And then only one of those things can be good at any one time. Or is it like a tanky melee unit like Tyrant Guard or something? And so every format, one of them is good and all the other ones get cooked. And the Haruspex feels like it's susceptible to that to some extent. Still paying for the sense of trying to make Tyranids Battleshock faction. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that, right? There's like the Battleshock at the end of the phase shit. That's all. Like, it's the downside of the faction being one of the first two. But one of the first online, in the game, because they end up. I charge my phone. Because they end up, they just have, it's outdated game design at that point. Like right now we're seeing like the design of the edition is so fucking tight right now. I think the new Space Marine detachments are like perfect example. They're all so fucking cool, right? They're side grades from their original detachments. They're not necessarily better. They're not necessarily worse. You don't have to play them, but you can play them. They open up list variety, and their new characters are good in that detachment, out of that detachment, in a variety of different ways. And just because of the way they've worded their abilities and they made their abilities work, you can make them work in a lot of, in a lot of archetypes. I think that's fucking awesome. And Tyranids, unfortunately, being one of the first codexes out, suffer from the fact that like they've gotten a couple revisions, but their core data sheets are just a bunch of bullshit on them. That was thought to be good at the beginning of the edition, and then has since they've realized is actually trash. Another good example is like Ripper Swarms, I think, where they're OC 0, so they can't do anything, and they have an ability that requires them to engage their opponent. On a move 6 unit that can't go through walls. It's also, Ripper Swarms they're so perfect because it's such a disaster of a data sheet. It was clearly written at the beginning of the edition, and they just never changed it. So they're like OC 0, so you can't take one and hold an objective. Sure. And then they we'll just, later on in the edition, at the start, you could do actions with these guys. They were amazing. Then they were like, that's too much. We'll take away actions from them. And you're like, okay, fair enough. What's their ability? While they're engaging an enemy unit, they have the objective control. So first of all, if you're OC 1, you still hold the objective because the Ripper's OC 0 and they have you to 1 to 0.5, which rounds up to 1. So the only time the Ripper Swarm is good is when it's also fighting something else. And then also, the Ripper has to engage you, which means it has to be in melee, have made a charge on a move 6 body that can't go through walls, so it has to go around. It could deep strike and hit a 9, potentially, and then you have to not die on a T2 6-up 4-wound body. It's the most fucking worthless ability ever. And it would be like, if you look at this unit now in comparison to like fucking hunting wolves or like canoptic scarabs or all nurglings, all of these similar units elsewhere in the game, Ripper Swarms are just unplayably bad. And it's because they wrote all these abilities without really having any experience with how the game actually works. And then they've been power crapped into oblivion. It's crazy. We talk about another Monkai here. This is just fucking Tyranid tangent time. You guys got me on the Tyranid, on the tactical tangents really hard today. They pointed neurolectures into the stratosphere. Yeah. They fixed this. They give Swarm mode an Oath of Moment. Give him Oath of... He can either do Oath of Moment or he can give like +1 OC around him. That'd be cool. In an aura. But he just chooses. Yeah. And then, and at the same time, they have to double the attacks characteristic of Exocrines. That's the only way it works. So you have to take your relatively undercosted like anti-tank gunship like body and go and double their attacks characteristic and then give Swarm Lords a moment. And then the Tyranids are finally a good faction. If you build one specific way, which is you play, I don't know, what's the equivalent of a Rust Stalker in Tyranids? Like a Gene Stealer? You play all Gene Stealers. You play 60 Gene Stealers, and then 3 Exocrines, and then that finally the faction's good. Fernando, you're Shadowblade? Oh shit, dude. Don't tell me that. Don't give me your real name. Now I'll be able to find you. Thanks for being the what's the word? The our like I don't know, talking point for talking about using screen names in 40k, of which I'm in favor of, by the way. So I wish everyone gave themselves angsty scream names. I think that'd be cool.
Ryan G donated $5 through Super Chat. In reality, GW would have sworn Lord loses 2 attacks and gain a reroll.
Loses 2 attacks, gain reroll battle shock. What if you made enemies reroll successful battle shock? That'd be cool. That would actually be legitimately good, though. If it was like huge, if it was a huge aura, like 24 inches, enemies reroll battle shock, successful battle shock checks. He would be broken. Suddenly, your neurolictors work 75% of the time. That would actually be incredible. Here's more Monka. We have the Kroot Flesh Shaper, which I think is probably underplayed. I love this guy. So the tech is that if you used, what's it called? Coordinated action. The stratagem in Grand Monka here. It is Focus Fire, excuse me. Coordinated action is a Breach Storm ability. Don't pay attention to that. You simply choose 2 units from your army and 1 enemy unit. You get +1 AP, but you have to target that enemy unit. However, if you put the Flesh Shaper in the back, it can't shoot anything, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't require line of sight. So the Flesh Shaper could be targeted. He reduces the cost of stratagems targeting him. So he sits on your home objective and screens and then just yells at someone else to get +1 AP every turn. And you just get that strat for free. It only affects the 1 other unit that you've done because you're not going to do anything with him. But, excuse me, is that correct? It's the Flesh Shaper that does the CP cost reduction, right? Or am I a crazy person? No, I'm thinking about it. That might be the War Shaper I'm thinking of. Hold up. It is the War Shaper. God damn it. No, I'm just kidding. I talked entirely about a combo that is not here. This guy gives a feel no pain and sustained hits in melee. Oh. Okay. Well, that's less good. What are we doing with that guy? Are we putting him in a squad? All right, I don't get it. Do we have Kroot like the Kroot infiltrator guys? No. Well, joke's on me, chat. I don't know why this guy's here. He does infiltrate scout for free himself. You could put him in with the 10 Kroot carnivores that are in the list, but I don't know if that's very exciting. Giving a 6-up feel no pain to Kroot carnivores is not the most exciting thing in the world. And then he loses his own infiltrate. So he might just be a utility guy for turn 1. I like that I talked with confidence about this entire combo that doesn't even exist here. That's so funny. Yeah, I guess he's just a utility guy. He's just vibing. He's 45 points, I suppose. Is that the cheapest single entity in the faction? Wait, how much is well, we have an ethereal already. I imagine it's got to be, right? Warshaper's 50, so he's 5 points less than Warshaper, and we are at 2K, right? I assume. Does this have the points total? No, I think we're at 2K. I imagine that's the total. So we maybe just cut the free strat combo for a utility guy. Interesting. I mean, infiltrate scout, excuse me, on a body is not terrible. You can just throw him out turn 1, whatever. He has stealth too, so sometimes he doesn't die. He probably dies. He's T3 with 3 wounds with no save. Oh my god. This top line gives me a heart attack. Look at this. No invuln. He's just sitting on a 6-up. That's incredible. What a time. He doesn't even have his own Feel No Pain. And then he's got a little shotgun. He's got Twin Linked melee attack. Let's go. T3 6-up 3 wounds. Incredible. Well, for 45 points, you know, can't look a gift 45 points in the mouth. We got 2 broadside battlesuits with rail rifles. Ghost Scale battlesuit, Hammerheads ×3, Kroot Carnivores, Pathfinder, Piranha ×3, Riptide battlesuit ×3, Stealth battlesuit ×2. This one does have the Strike Swiftly Ethereal, so he's going to hang out and give Scout to the early stuff. All right, I'm going to move off before I can misquote more rules. Let's talk about Thousand Suns. Thousand Suns. Teruxer El Rojo is rocking some Grand Coven today. Something wild going on outside. He's got an Incandium Exalted Sorcerer. So I like this combo. We're starting to see more and more Exalted Sorcerers played because they have this cool thing they do. They on a 2+, they regenerate bodyguard models back to the unit. And you can eat damage on your Aspiring Sorcerer, who is a Psyker. So he gets all your Psyker strats like Destined by Fate, which gives you a damage blank. So you can use all those strats on the Sorcerer. He dies eventually after a little while. And then he has more wounds than the rest of the unit, so he keeps the unit alive. And then the Exalted Sorcerer just brings him back. Like, no, get back here. You're not done eating damage. And then you can just do it all again. So it makes the unit actually legitimately hard to kill because they also have a 4+ Feel No Pain. Or not Feel No Pain, excuse me, Invuln Save. They could have a Feel No Pain against psychic attacks if you want to. So we have one of those. We have an Umbrella for Crystal one. Plus the Exalted, I believe, has a Devastating gun naturally. So you can... So he's still devastating in the +1 to wound doctrine. Yeah. It's D6 shots, which sucks. Unfortunately, sometimes you roll a 1 and you're like, this is awkward. But when you roll a 6, it's great. And then he's like winning most things on 4s or 5s, maybe full rerolls for the Rubric Marines. So his output's actually pretty reasonable. He's also better in melee because he's hits on 2s naturally. And I think you get both melee weapons all the time as well. Yeah, he just gets his Kopesh for free. So sometimes you hit someone with psychic defense and he just pulls out his regular sword. He's like, oh, no staff? All right. I'll stab you, I guess. We actually had that happen at a T5S2 game where it was last year, I think. It was season 8. And someone had brought a Calexis assassin because they assumed they were going to be paired into Thousand Suns. They did get paired into Thousand Suns. The Calexis assassin ran to the front of the army. So I have a 2+ Invuln or Feel No Pain. What are you going to do? I just got hit by a regular sword and died. It was great. Everyone was like, wait a minute, the Exalted Sorcerer has a regular Skopesh as well? You're like, yeah, actually. He just has a non-psychic 2 damage melee attack. Was actually surprising to everyone involved, which is great. We have an Infernal Master with Eldritch Vortex for extra damage, a Sorcerer, Rubric Marines ×4. We have a Chaos Rhino, Forge Friendo. Thousand Suns Forge Fiend, actually pretty solid. It gets all the buffs from the rituals and then also gives you -1 to hit. Mutilate Vortex B, Secatar Robots, Fade Caster, Great Bow, Enlightened, plus double Zangors. Yeah, normal stuff. Normal stuff, chance. Totally legit source for the WCW running is John Lennon saying it on stream. Okay. That is one step better than a Grady Discord screenshot, but not that much better. As we've just learned, not everything you say on stream is correct. We'll talk about the third place placer chat, and I think we'll go ahead and wrap up for the day. It seems like Tau Empire is and Aeldari are the through line, which I think they're certainly the most powerful factions here in the meta game so far. And so I'm not shocked to see that. But this one, third place, is 5-1-1. Also has some really interesting results. Alvaro Perez running the Drukhari list, the only one. Drazar, Lilith, Lady Malice, a Witch unit for Lilith, Venoms to split them, Chronos, Hellions times 10, Incubi times 2. We talked about this list yesterday. I imagine, I wouldn't be surprised if Alvaro was also in WCW. But this is basically the list. I did a whole discussion on it yesterday. I don't know. There's not much build variety in Drukhari right now. They have one good detachment. I guess it's Reaper's Wager. Somebody was ranking Spectacle Spite, which I thought was cool. I didn't end up having time to talk about it, but that's pretty neat. But yeah, I don't know. It's the Drukhari list. Tyranids, Fran Bolano. Playing Invasion Fleet. This is a shocker. The only character is a hyper-adapted Ravener Prime. Okay, fair enough. Who needs Hive Tyrants? Dude, Hive Tyrants are the fucking trash, dude. What are you even going to do? Get free strats from them? Get Assault? No. We are not going to do that. We are going to run Nord Emissaries at our opponent. No Hive Tyrant, we have double Tyran effects. Oh boy. Man, Invasion Fleet has such good strats, by the way. I'll say what I will about Tyranids. Invasion Fleet strats are some of the better ones, right? Like 2 CP, 5 up criticals, 5+ Feel No Pain, regenerate your gargoyles. Like those are all good things. Not leaving the free strat bump guy at home is tough. That said, the Norn Emissaries should have a 5+ Feel No Pain regardless. So you don't necessarily need to be getting that for free. You can just pay for it when you need it on the other guys. And it gives us more space to take melee stuff. It's double Norn Emissary Maleceptor, double Exocrine, double Tyran effects. Where are other points going? I guess just Gargoyles and Raveners. Fascinating. So the hyper adapted are a good rampant ingress threat. Gargoyles good at stealing objectives, and then you just have a big gun line, a big bug line of boys. You can't reduce CP with your Flesh Shaper. You indeed cannot. I've only ever seen War Shapers. I just don't know what the other ones do. Francisco over here playing an Aspect Toast. That sure is an Aspect Toast. Wow. Berserker Warband. It is a Berserker Warband. Sag. We'll talk about Tau momentarily, and then we'll get to Orcs, which is probably more exciting. Monka, Straight Swiggly, Cadre Fireblade. This one also has Dark Strider, so we can hold down the back line. I love that Dark Strider. So Dark Strider is another character that is has multi-use, and I think I really like him because you can hold him in the back and he can screen your back line, or if you want to, you can put him in the Pathfinder team and get +1 to wound. And I think the fact that he does both of those or either one of those things is actually sick. Breacher team, Devil Fishy, Ghost Keel, ×2, Carnivore, Pathfinders, Piranhas, Riptides, Skyray, Stealth Bowsuits. Normal stuff. Besides the little Dark Strider play. And then we got Orcs. It's funny that the most... it feels to me like the most standard builds have been on the third place team. The teams that had spicier builds got first and second. Is there the correlation there? I don't know. So this Orcs Warhorde. It's Ghazghkull Thraka with a Pain Boy, not a Big Mech. So his unit is tankier, but not necessarily that much faster. Because they don't have the reroll advance rolls or can't move through models. I guess the assumption is that at this point, most people know how to screen the Ghazghkull brick. They just cloud. And so you're move through models is rarely relevant. So I'm just going to be harder to kill. I'll just take the fucking Pain Boy instead of the dude with the gun. Double Beast Boss, Ghazghkull Thraka, Mega Armor War Boss. Mega Armor. Okay. Beast Snagga Boys ×2 for the Beast Bosses. Boys. 1 Battle Wagon. Something spicy going on here. Flash Kits, Gretchen. Double Kill Rigs for the Beast Snagga Boys. Dude, this list feels like it's beyond the Ghazghkull Thraka Boys brick, which is new. This list feels like it's from 2 years ago, where every list was 3 Kill Rigs, 3 It's the Beast Snagga Boys, 3 War Bosses, or 3 Beast Bosses. Kill Rigs were the number one thing to take in Orcs for the longest time. Everyone played nothing but Kill Rigs. I think they lost the ability to -1 to wound them, and then they fell out of play, but they're slowly but surely coming back. It certainly helps that you can buff 20 boys and Gaskell with 1 point on the kill rig, right? All you need is like one kill rig activation, and then suddenly that unit's damage dramatically improves. Oh, what am I looking for? Yeah, I believe that you can no longer target monsters with Artist Nails. Yeah, can no longer a monster or non-bunker monster vehicle. I guess no, they were vehicles back in the day, right? So I guess you could never Artist Nails them. Why did people stop playing these things? They're so good. They moved to being monsters recently. They were vehicles, I think, for most of the edition. Any Eldar lists that aren't Warhost or Aspect Host? Unfortunately not. Every Eldar list is Warhost or Aspect Host. There's a couple of spicier ones in WCW, but not in this event. Commando unit, big Mega Knob squad plus Storm Boys. So the Mega Knobs is interesting. I guess like giving them sustain and unbridled carnage can like dramatically improve their attack volume because they are only attacking 2 times each naturally, right? With the kill saws. But they're twin linked, so they like wildly improve their sustained hits. Like each of their sustained hits is really valuable. And the Mega Armor War Boss gets +1 to hit and 3 damage on his Choppa while you walk. That's an interesting unit. I'm fascinated by that. I guess like it's another unit that's a big like beat stick during log turn, which so you're not just relying entirely on Gaskell Thraka to get work done. Because the beast bosses don't necessarily need WOG, they just benefit from it. But they're mostly just like fishing for devastating anyway. Against monsters and vehicles. And then you can deliver these guys with the battle wagon. Whereas you can't do that with Gaskell Thraka. Interesting. That's neat. I like it. That's a cool inclusion. Good old... This list is actually much tankier. If you can WOG, it almost is set up to be able to WOG defensively, right? Because the Thraka unit gets a 5+5+, right, from the Pain Boy. So the invulnerable save into the Feel No Pain from the Pain Boy. I think he's a 5+. Yeah. And then the Mega Knobs also get a 5+ Feel No Pain from the WOG. So like basically all your front line has a 5+ Feel No Pain on WOG turn. And the Invuln save. And I guess the most common way we've seen Gaz lose is to commit, like fully commit, hit your opponent really hard, and then be tabled immediately, right? Because like a 5+ invulnerable save is not necessarily enough to keep an Orc army alive because it's 2 inches away from your opponent, so they just get to fully activate into you. We even saw Gaskell Thraka kill like an astronomical number of Ultramarines in at Crucible. Like he got the perfect like max advance over the screening unit into his opponent's gun line, killed like a repulsor and a full unit of like Blade Guard veterans or something, and then just immediately died. Like the whole army was tabled in 2 turns, and it was like wild. It was like you got a 500-point alpha strike into your opponent and still lost. How does that even happen? And I guess like just trying to push the survivability of those units makes a lot of sense. That seems to be a lot of Orcs' problem is like their alpha's really good, but they don't have the sustain. Orcs is such a tough army to balance. I don't know how they do it. I kind of feel like WOG needs a different mechanic. It's so classically Orcs, but it feels like it's too polarizing. Like either your army's really good for 1 turn of the game, or it sucks for the entirety of the game. Anti-monster, anti-vehicle meta helps that, or it doesn't help them. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Being able to dodge those in team events helps, I guess, for sure. Destro Terminators are T7, but walking power armor trash cans aren't. Yeah, I mean, Orc armor is like basically aluminum foil, right? It's like actually just corrugated steel that they found on the ground. So it does make sense to me. It's thematically appropriate to me that Orc armor is like really shitty all the time. So, I don't know. I think it's okay. Anyway, chat, those are the lists I want to talk about. Go ahead and hop off, unless we have anything else you want to discuss. I think I'm going to hop over on Twitch probably for a little bit, and I'm going to do a little bit of Warpforge. I think I'm not super feeling a game right now because I don't have anything scheduled. And honestly, I'm a little tired and I need to have some work to do. But I'll probably hop on for 45 minutes or so and just like vibe. If anybody is interested in chilling with me over on Twitchies, WCW. I don't have the document yet. I don't know why. Like I have exactly as much information as you. I have no special relationship with WCW or Warhammer. I don't. They haven't given me any stuff. So I can't. I mean, I can't comment on anything I don't have. So I apologize. Once I have it, I'll probably do a whole video on it. But until then, I am just chilling. Just chilling. I don't know. I don't know what to do. Anyway, chat, I think that's going to be it for me today, folks. Yeah, I'll go hang out on Twitch for a little bit. I won't be doing gameplay today because I don't want to. That's mostly it. But I'll be back with games probably. I have one scheduled for Friday, and I think that there are finals games scheduled basically every day until then, so we'll have lots of gameplay from there. So anyway, cheers, chat. I'll see you over on the Twitchies in a little bit. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me. Keep it classy, have happy wargaming, all that stuff, and I will see you in a moment. Don't forget to check out Captain Con as well. Obviously, use coupon code TT2026. Get 10% off your badge. Links are in the video description. Also, CaptainCon.com is the place to go. Also, the QR code on screen. All those are great. Cheers. See ya.